talking about my open source project called Tenantee. And my talk is mostly about challenges and procedures when dealing with a such open source project. So, first things first, who am I? This is me, and I forgot to shave for this photo. But anyway, I've been a software developer for over 10 years now. I started with PHP, moved into Node, JavaScript, stuff like that, and eventually Elixir. I'm also an ex-freelancer, so I used to do a lot of freelancing, but right now I just wanted something more stable. So in my free time, I'm also a private tutor. I teach .NET, C, JavaScript, and all the good stuff, mostly to university students, which is very funny since I myself don't have a university degree. And I'm also technical lead at Noubis. We do outsourcing, and some of our projects are also in Elixir. And I'm the only Elixir guy in my city, probably, because I haven't checked yet. So, what is this Tenantee? We don't have a logo yet, so why don't some of you create one? You can submit a PR, and I will look at it. Tenantee is a free and open source management tool for landlords. It's licensed under GPL free. And the tech stack that it's built upon, we have Phoenix, obviously Elixir, React, and Postgres. But this was made before I decided to ditch React altogether. So let's get this out of here. And I instead opted to use Redis to store some configuration details and stuff like that. So dealing with Tenantee and open source in general, we have to take different things into account. So first things first, we need to take in the demand for a certain project. From my own personal experience, what I've been seeing, landlords around me were always disorganized, saying like they forget who paid for what, they don't know what leakage to fix, where to go. It's a mess all over the place, and they would love a solution to like unify everything into a piece of software that they can use to manage everything. Second, usefulness. This kind of ties into the previous point. You can have a demand and you can have a product that satisfies that demand, but it's not going to be good if it's not useful. So it has to also solve those kinds of problems. And also, it has to be easy to use. We as software developers sometimes forget that regular Joes don't really know the difference between PHP, React, or all the other technologies. They just want to press a button and be done with it. Also, when dealing with open source, it's very important to have good developer experience, because you're not going to get many help if the experience is bad. And also, you need to have certain processes, because if you don't, everybody will just end up committing everything and it'll all fall apart. And also, dealing with open source, we have something that even I did, mistakes that were made. So my mistake from the start was using React. I was fully aware of live view, but still I went into React thinking, okay, more people know React, it'll help me out. But it just proved to be a bad experience because everything had changed something in the API. I would need to go to React, and it's just way more easier when everything is in one code base. So, demo time. I'm gonna quickly show you around the app. Let me just refresh the screen. Okay, so this is the initial modal that gets fired up when you first launch Tenantee as a Phoenix application. You can also launch it in Docker. I'm also looking into like packaging everything together as a executable file, for example, like Livebook. So people don't really have to worry about it. They can just run it and poof. So first I'm here. Let's get us started. This is the configuration page where I can put in my name and currency. So since I am from Serbia, let's put our currency and click save. So as you can see, the configuration was saved successfully. And if I go back to the homepage, you can also go here, doesn't matter. It'll say, hey there, Zvonimir. Thank you for trying out Tenantee. Looks like you haven't added any properties yet. So why don't you head over to the properties page and add your first property? So let's do that right now. So this is like a form, how it looks like. So let's add apartment. Let's add some address. And the price of property, let's say like this. We can also put in some, this is the description. And when we click create, it was created successfully, and we're rerouted to an update page, where we can also reach this page by clicking edit. And I can also delete the property and manage tenants. But I didn't add any tenants yet. So let's do that right now. So let's add my first and last name. Create. And it says I'm currently occupying 0 properties. Since I'm not occupying any property, I don't have any unpaid rents. But if I do add myself to a property, boof, it'll say I'm currently occupying 1 property, have some CSS to fix, and it'll say has 0 unpaid rents. I can also manage rents from here. So rents are calculated every first day of the month. I'm using Quantum for cron jobs. But right now, let's just generate a rent. So 22.7. Okay. 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 So I generated some rent from IEX, and it'll say, okay, now I have 1 unpaid rent, but it's not overdue. When the rent is generated, currently I set the due date to be the next day, but considering how some landlords might be more lenient, I'll probably add it as a configuration option. Not probably, I definitely will. Anyway, let's make it that rent is overdue. So if it's overdue, it'll say has one unpaid rent. One of them is overdue. And it'll also say here you have one unpaid and one overdue rent. And I can like manage rents, and I click here. And for example, let's say I have paid the rent, I click pay, and boom, the rent has been paid. Now I have 0 unpaid rents, and everything is fine. And I can delete the tenant, and deleting the tenant will also delete everything else in the database that has been connected to it. So the leases are deleted and rents. And I can delete the property, and poof, that's pretty much it. I have these icons here. If you click GitHub, it'll throw you to GitHub, where you can view the project. Also, many thanks to these wonderful people who already did contribute to Tenantee. Some of them are my coworkers, and I'm very grateful for that. So yeah, if you liked it, let me actually get back. So does this sound interesting? If it does, I have a little secret. Psst. We're accepting PRs, so feel free to. We have some issues. Most of them are feature requests. We have one bug. So if you see anything you might like, feel free to comment on it, and I'll assign you. And that's pretty much it. Thank you. If you want to contact me, I'm mostly active on LinkedIn and on GitHub. So these are my two main sources where you can find me and contact me. Feel free to ask anything related to programming, cooking, doesn't matter. I'm always available. So yeah, that was pretty much it.
Thank you, Zvonimir. It was a great intro to your project. We also are working actively on an open source project that is a web app. So it was interesting to see your point of view on things that you thought were bad choices and good choices. So congratulations on the project. Maybe one question from me at the beginning. You mentioned that using React was a bad choice for a start. Did you encounter any other big issues, like the wrong choices you made at the beginning that may be like good suggestions to someone who's gonna work on an open source project, what not to do at the beginning, because it may lead to unproductive work later on?
Yeah, so I mentioned React was a bad choice, and it really was, because when I initially started working on the project, it was React and Phoenix API, and it was a RESTful API. And I planned to expand into a GraphQL with Absent, but I also started with Swagger, and adding new endpoints was really painful, and it took out a lot of time, which didn't have to, obviously. So I just resorted to using specs and module docs and function docs, which can be generated by Xdoc, which I'm gonna actually work on afterwards. The main reason I chose React, like I said, is because I thought, okay, more people were familiar with React, it'll be more approachable, but it really didn't prove anything different. People who know React obviously know HTML, so if they do want to contribute to HTML and CSS, it's very easy in Phoenix. You have assets, you have live view templates. It's not much different from a regular web app, in my opinion. And a lot of WebSocket stuff is abstracted anyway, so you don't really need to know that much about Elixir to contribute to the front end side of it.
Thank you. So we have one question, just a moment.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so this is the question.
Okay. Thank you, Zvonimir. What about to add schedule of payments for property items? So yeah, some of the stuff that I do want to add is actually, let's go through the issues together. So first things first, I really want to improve Docker support. That's something that needs to be done. And pure feature wise, what I do want to add is taxes, because you obviously have to pay income tax. I mean, in regular countries you do. Here nobody does it, but still you should. And I also want to add expenses, and expenses are okay. So I don't know, the sink broke or the power died out or something like that. The water bill is here, and different countries have different laws, so that's why I do want to allow expenses to be marked as, okay, a landlord is going to pay for this, or the tenant is going to pay for this. So if the tenant is going to pay for something, it's obviously neither a loss nor a profit, so it just gets ignored. But if the landlord has to pay for something, you can calculate how much you profited or lost on a property that specific month. And I do plan to add some kind of a historical data, so you can go through the property and see how much profitable it was, and which tenants were always on time, which ones were late. I also plan to add an activity log at some point. So if you get lost, you can just okay, I did this then and then. And I also plan to add communication channels. Taxes and communications channels is something I already had in a previous version, but I decided to throw them out for the time being. So communication channels are it's basically an extension of a tenant where you have their phone number, their email, their Instagram, Telegram, whatever you use to communicate with them, and you can just quickly send them messages. I'm not sure if I'm gonna integrate with Telegram via a bot or something. That's kind of too much for now. But if you for example, they have Telegram, you can click on it and it'll redirect you to their Telegram profile.
Right, thank you. So someone is writing something. Maybe we'll have another question. So let's just wait for 5 seconds, maybe.
Sure.
Someone too much. How long are you already developing this this open source project?
I've started, I think, last year. It's been something that I've been doing away from work since we do outsourcing, and I don't know if you experienced it, but like the IT market experienced a huge crash. A lot of people were laid off. There simply wasn't that much work for developers. Luckily, we survived, but I was like on a bench without a project, and I mean, I was still getting paid, but it just didn't feel right to me. I wanted to do something really bad, and I was like, okay, what's the what's an issue that needs solving? And I was like, oh yeah, landlords. So it's been a few months since then.
Okay, okay. So the last question maybe. Are the payments data will the payments data stored also in Postgres?
Yeah. I'll be storing it in Postgres since I'm already storing data about the rent and the prices in Postgres. If I find some other type of database that would work better performance-wise, I would obviously consider it. But for the time being, it's my general idea is to like just throw it in Postgres. Yeah, I don't know of any other solution that would do like better.
Sometimes what's being implemented in open source projects is something like a plugin or basically a module that you pass on to adapter. Let's call it adapter that you can pass on to abstract of what you're gonna use as a data storage solution. But basically, Acto is like already a solution where you can which you can adapt with various DBs. But if you would like to also support many different other solutions, then maybe this is the way. But I don't think it would be very practical. Maybe. Okay, so thank you very much. For everyone who's interested in this project, I placed the button on top if you want to check this out. Of course, I encourage you to start it. And thank you, Zvonimir, for your talk. I hope to see you again on our and all the best.
Best wishes to you as well.